Laura, and I am the Director of Family Ministry and Christian Education at Grace United Methodist Church in Gaithersburg. Now we are a little bit of a way into our study on emotions. We are following a study here called Management's Study, and we've talked previously about how, and today we will be talking about fear and frustration about today. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to play a song for you now, and I'd like you to listen to the words as you're running around, because while I'm playing this song, this will give you a minute to go and get some pens and paper. Now you can get colours if you want to, or just a Sharpie. So whatever you decide, go ahead. When I'm playing this song, you're not going to miss it. Grab some paper and a pen. And as I said, it doesn't have to be fancy. All right, here we go. I hope you all enjoyed that song. Did you hear what it was singing to you? I am not forgotten. God knows my name, and God knows your name. So let's start in prayer before we go any further. Dear God, thank you so much for being with us this evening, and always thank you for knowing our name and for never ever forgetting us, even when we're sad or angry or upset or joyously happy. All of God, in your name we pray. Amen. Drawn a chart, but I was drawing this while you were going to get some drawn. Can you see the faces that I've drawn? This one is happy also. To me, I would say this one is sad. So we've got sad next to that one. Now what about this one right here? What does this look like? I would say this one looks quite angry. So let's put angry. Angry. And what about this last one? This could be a number of things. It could be surprised, or it could be worried. So let's put down worried. Now I would like you to look at all of these boys and girls and think about how you're feeling right now at this very moment. So think about your feelings. Think about how you're feeling inside. Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling worried? Well, if you would like to share any of these emotions with me, you can do. Emotions like worried or angry or sad, I would love to talk to you and help you with those emotions if you would like to message me. Or you can message me and tell me something happy. So any of these things, I am always open to talking to you boys and girls. So just think about your emotion and let's try and get you to happy. Even if you're feeling really angry right now, I want you to feel happy. But fear, I think you all know what fear means, right? So, where am I? Let's talk about fear. Fear is when you're scared of something, right? That's what it usually means, when you are scared, when you are fearful of something. So, in everything we do, let's turn to the Bible, because the Bible. So let's turn to the Bible. Do you think we're going to find a story with Jesus in it where some people were fearful? Let's take a look, shall we? I have mine down. I don't want to be marking up the Bible. Okay, so I have the Adventure Bible right here, and I'm going to turn to the book of Mark. I actually cheated and put a bookmark in there earlier on. But if you are following with the Adventure Bible, we are on page 1099 in the Adventure Bible. If you do not have a Bible, change that. All right, listening ears. Oh, look at me. I was so proud of marking my place in the Bible, and then I went and lost it again. So let's try that again. Mark 4, and my doggy's standing right in front of the camera. You going to say hi to everyone, Crumpet? Come here. Come say hi to everybody. There's my big doggy. Look at this big lug of love. Isn't he lovely? He's normally drooling. We're lucky he's not drooling all over you right now. Okay, I'm in the book of Mark, so listening is on, boys and girls. I wish you could read. I do. Mwah. This is called Jesus Calms the Storm. That day, when evening came, he said to his disciples, let... Crumpet, really? All right, you go out that way. Thank you. Let's start that again. That day, with disciples, let us go to the other side. Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along. There were also furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat, so that it was near. Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples woke him and said, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. He said to his disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" Thank you for the word of God. In our Bible, the book of Mark. Now, in that story, who was scared? Was Jesus scared? He didn't sound very scared, did he? But who did sound scared? The disciples sounded scared. In fact, they sounded really, really scared. And they woke Jesus up and said, "Why are you not scared?" And Jesus said, "Do you have no faith?" So really what he means is, don't worry, God's going to look after you, and you should know that by now. I think that is what Jesus is trying to say to the disciples. And there's lots of places in the Bible. It would take this whole lesson for me to tell you, but there are lots of places in the Bible that basically say, don't worry, fear not, don't worry about these things, because God has got your back, which means God is going to look after you. Turn your worries over to Jesus. Turn your worries over to God. You may have heard that before. Okay, so does this story, the one that I just told you, does that remind you of anything going on in our world right now? Can you think of some things that this story reminds you about? Perhaps things about being scared. You know how the disciples were feeling in this story? So things that may make you scared in our world today. Because you might not necessarily be going out on a fishing boat with Jesus in a big storm to make you feel scared. But in our world today, there are other things that can make you feel scared. And I have some examples here. Being bullied. That would make me very scared. When there are loud noises on the street. When someone's driving fast. Hearing a police siren. Now, I want you to know that emotions are a part of life, and it's our job to learn how to manage them so that we don't hurt ourselves and we don't hurt others, because sometimes our emotions can bubble up into something not very nice, right? It's not good to feel angry or worried or fearful all the time. And so everybody has emotions, but it's your job to learn how to manage them so that we do not hurt ourselves or others. So that is what we're going to be talking about in our study, how to manage our emotions. Now, I want you to think about the story that I just told. This is what you need your pen and paper for. So think about the story that I just told in the Bible about the storm coming up and the disciples being scared, waking Jesus up because Jesus was asleep when this big storm was happening and they all thought they were going to drown. And Jesus woke up and said, "Quiet," to the waves, told the waves to quiet and calm down. And the waves listened to Jesus and the storm calmed down. So have a think about that story. Now I'm going to say some key words, which really means some of the words that are said quite often in the story, or some of the words that you think of the most in this story. And I want you to pick one of these words. Okay, so put your listening ears on, boys and girls. Here we go. Disciples, boats, storm, water, Jesus. Now I'm going to say them one more time, and you have a think, put your listening ears on and think you'd like to choose. Disciples, boat, storm, water, or Jesus. Now I'm going to pick one. What shall I draw? I will draw a boat. That's what I'm going to draw. But let's put that music on again for go ahead, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Honestly, it really doesn't, because my drawings are never perfect. As long as you can see that I'm going to be drawing a boat, as long as you can see it's a boat, that's what counts. And then we'll see what happens at the end. So I'm going to get my paper ready. Let's get this song back on so we can all rock out and remember that we are not forgotten. I've got my board here, which I'm going to use to draw on. Let's make some art happen. I think I'm done with my picture. Alright, so put this over here. This is my picture. I drew a, let's take it down from here, boat. And I had a bit more time, so I actually drew some people on the boat. I cheated, I chose two. So here's my boat, and do you see these people? These are supposed to be the disciples. Is Jesus asleep on a cushion? Now if I wanted to add another thing, even though I said just choose one thing, I could put it to the bottom, because that was one of the things too, wasn't it? Let me see what else was in there. So, who chose disciple? Who chose a boat? Who chose a storm? I could have a storm. I'm not quite sure what a storm looks like. Let's put some wind, some splashing water. There, that's my storm. Who chose water? Did any of you choose water? Who chose Jesus? Wow, boys and girls, we all chose some really cool things to draw. I would love to know what your drawings look like, because if we were together right now, if we were in a classroom, I would ask us all to stand together. Well, not together, I would ask us all to stand in a line, and I would read the story again, which I'm going to do anyway, even though we're not together in a line. I would read the story again, and I would say, when I say the thing that you drew, step forward and hold your picture up. So in my story, I start, it was evening and Jesus, so whoever drew Jesus, what are you supposed to do? Hold your picture up. That's right, you can do it at home. Even though we're not together and not stood in a line, we can pretend, can't we? I know you're very good at pretending, my boys and girls. So I'm going to read the story to you again, and if I mention the thing that you have drawn, quickly add some things on like I did. Some water or some squiggly lines or anything like that, because we're just having fun here. Okay, let me read the story and then hold up your picture when I mention the word. It was evening and Jesus said to his disciples, "Let's go to the other side, guys." They got in one of the empty boats. There were other boats too. A huge source of wind and big waves. Their boat had water splashing in it. The emotion they're feeling there, do you think that's a happy? That they would point to the worried emotion. So the disciples were afraid, but Jesus was fast asleep with his head on a cushion. The disciples woke him up and exclaimed, "Don't you care that we are all about to die in this storm?" Jesus stood up and said, "Peace, be still." And the storm stopped. It was calm. Then he turned to his, "What are you afraid of? Have you no faith?" The disciples were really amazed that Jesus had power over the storm. Now, I think I would be a little bit surprised if I was with Jesus and all of a sudden he said, "Peace, be still," and the storm stopped and the waves slowed down. And then you'd just think, goodness me, what an amazing, amazing Son of God this is. All right, so moving on. So let's talk about here things that cause you to be afraid. I will put them up on the comments after this. So there were some people that did a study and asked children what they were afraid of, the things that the children were afraid of. A snake. Girls, why not? So, are any of you afraid of snakes? Slithering across my kitchen floor. All right, so we have snakes. Put your hand up if you're afraid of snakes. My whiteboard is in the other room. Spiders. And draw these things for me. I'm not the best at drawing these things. So spiders, that's not something that I'm very fond of. I think spiders belong outside and not inside. But I'm actually sat in my sunroom right now, which is the room that kind of leads onto the garden in our house, and there are quite often spiders in here, so I'm being very brave right now. Okay, what else? Heights. So when you're really, really high up, who's afraid to go up to the top of really tall buildings? I think that's kind of the same thing. How am I spelling this? Escalators, the things that are like the steps that move up, like when you go to the shopping centre or Target or something like that, there's an escalator that goes up. Now, boys and girls, I wish I could hear you, but shout out right now some of the things that you're afraid of. Let me see if you shout loud enough if I can hear you. There are some good ones there, boys and well, I don't know about good, but because you're afraid of them, but there are some ones there that I wouldn't have thought of. So let's see what else they say in the study here. There's a company called Kids Health. So it's like kind of like a group of doctors that did this study to see what kids are afraid of. 700 children, that's a lot, right? Let's add these to our list. So out of 1,700 kids, these are some of the things that they were afraid of the most. The dark. So at night time, in the dark, a lot of children said being afraid of the dark. One that children were afraid of. Mean dogs. So it's very mean. My writing's getting smaller and smaller. Mean dogs. We've got room for a couple more. We've got spiders and we've got snakes because those are on the list too. Oh, you know what? Thunderstorms was a big one. So let's write thunder. A lot of thunder at this time of the year, don't we? In the summertime when it can't decide whether it's going to be really sunny or really rainy or really quickly sunny again. That can often cause a big thunderstorm. And there's a couple of others here that I'm not going to add to the list, but being afraid of shots, of injections at the doctor's surgery. You know, when you go in and they have to give you an injection to keep you safe. Some children are afraid of shots because they are afraid it's going to really, really hurt. But then when they actually have the injection, they realize at the beginning than it did to actually get the injection. I think we did it all. Now, do you want the two unusual ones, the two most unusual they had? Well, I'm sorry, the most unusual. There was a girl, her name is Rachel, she's 11 years old, and she's most afraid of a jump off the coast of Australia. So there's a giant jellyfish that lives in Australia, which is a country a long, long way away. You have to go on a boat to get to a plane to get to Australia, and it takes 20. There's a girl that's afraid of a jellyfish in Australia, but that's okay because we don't make fun of other people's emotions, do we? If somebody's scared of something, it's not up to us to make fun of them or to judge them. Somebody was afraid of. Now, that actually can be a phobia, and that's something we'll talk about another time, but something that you are just a little bit scared of, but really, really scared. And somebody was really, really scared of throwing up. And then there's wetting the bed or getting fat. Now, those are some of the things, and as I said, we don't judge other people, but I just wanted to let you know what all of the things that all of these children said. So I'm sure that you've got some that you can add to this that maybe you would want to add, you know, in your head or personally in your diary, because you might not want other people to know about it. But if you have any fears, it's my dog. He keeps trying to talk for us, doesn't he? But don't quite understand him yet. I'm working on it. But with these emotions that you are feeling, it's totally okay. And if you want to keep it to yourself, if that's your choice, okay. But if something is really, really worrying you and it's making you feel worried all the time, you might want to think about talking to a trusted grown-up. All right, let's move on. Okay, what is fear? So fear is a feeling that everybody has. Fear is in all of us. Did you know that? That feeling of fear that you get is actually there to protect you. We are so that we can react to something if it is dangerous. Us. For example, some babies cry when they are afraid or they've heard a loud noise. Mum or dad or trusted adult comes to soothe the baby, and then the baby is feeling safe and okay again. The baby has just experienced calming down after feeling afraid. So calming down after feeling afraid. Something that every person needs to learn as they grow up. How to calm down after feeling afraid. The best way to get over a fear is to get more information. So if you are scared of a thing, let's say it's a spider, because if I was young, I could ask my parents if I could use the internet, and I could look on the internet for cool facts about spiders, or I could go and learn some of the cool things they do and the good things about spiders, and that might happen. And there are several other things you can do to help you feel less afraid. Playing outside, going outside and playing and getting sticks and playing in the mud and jumping on the trampoline, and there's so much to do outside, you know, collecting leaves, collecting bits of nature, all kinds of things you can do outside. Listening to music. There's a lot of music out there, boys and girls, just make sure it's appropriate. And there's music that can help you feel less afraid. Watching television. That can distract you. Watching television, again, make sure it's appropriate. Talking to a parent. Now, when I was younger, talking to my mummy always made me feel better. Always. Even though my mum is an angel now, I still do talk to her, and that makes me feel better, even now. Talk to a friend. Now, unfortunately, some kids have been teased for being afraid. Now, as I said before, no teasing allowed. We don't do that here. We talked about in the other studies, we've already done 2 other studies in this managing your emotions, and in the other studies I talked about our kind of contract, as it were, so that we agree that we will not make fun of each other. And if somebody posts something onto the Engage Ministry Facebook page about something they're afraid of, or a picture of something they're afraid of, we're not going to make fun of them or think that they're silly, because we don't do that, right, boys and girls? Okay, so also there was a boy called Naruto who's 10 years old, and he recommends drawing or writing what you're afraid of and then ripping it to pieces. So if you were afraid of, let me think, thunder, if thunder was coming, you could draw a picture of what you think thunder might look like. I don't know, maybe it's a big bang, maybe you just draw lightning, but draw, if that is the thing that you're afraid of, say you could draw thunder or spiders or the dark, you could do a dark page, and then look at the thing that you're afraid of, the thing that you've drawn, and then rip it to pieces so it's all gone. And that can help. Obviously that's not going to be able to help you completely not be afraid of this thing, but it can help you if you're having a really bad anxiety time, when that is really your worries kind of up to the ceiling, and you need to, like the baby was, calm down after feeling afraid. Another little girl, Jessica, who's 8 years old, finds when you are scared. So take it from you. And I'm not going to play that right, adding it tomorrow. So if you look tomorrow, there'll be a little video that you can watch that talks about some of the things that we've been talking about. Now, there are many things that you can do when you feel afraid. We've talked about some of these things, right? The disciples went to Jesus. Like I've said, you can talk to your parents, you can talk to Jesus, and he'll always be there. You can find a caring adult to help you. Also, You can pray anywhere. You can always pray, and God always hears you. A practice called, now you have to listen to this because this is what we're going to do next week, because we're coming to the end of our study now. Emotional freedom technique. Now, doesn't that sound fancy and complicated? Emotional, that starts with an E. So emotional freedom, that starts with an F. Technique, that starts with, it's also called tapping, the same thing. Now, it's something that you can do, is EFT or tapping. Now, I'm not going to be able to take time, but next week is all about, not next week, I'm so sorry, boys and girls. So, Thursday, I want you to come and be the physical things that you can do to calm down, feel less anxious, and to just help you. And one of those things is called tapping. Now, tapping is, here, let me give you a little bit of, imagine your wires. Imagine you're filled with wires. Now, these wires can be called nerves. These wires run from one part of your body to another. Brain and the heart are connected by a wire, a nerve. The toes are connected to the knee with a wire, also called a nerve. The eyes are connected to the brain with a nerve, just like the ears. All these parts of the body connect together to make the parts of our bodies work together, just as God planned it. So we are going to be talking about that. So imagine your body's full of wires, good wires. Your body's full of wires that kind of go all around your body to help your body work together. Next, on Thursday, our next session, our next emotion session, I am going to be teaching you tapping, which is how you can help these wires calm you down and make you feel a lot better if you're feeling anxious. A couple of other things we're going to be doing next week. Deep breathing. I'm going to be teaching you how to take deep breaths. Now, that sounds very easy. You probably think, oh, Miss Laura, I can breathe deep. Like you do when the doctor has his stethoscope on your back. But no, I'm going to teach you a different way to calmly breathe in and out, and I'll teach you how to do that to calm yourself down. Also, or whatever it may be. And the last one I'm going to be teaching you is movement exercise. Now, these are all things that are going to teach your body how to calm down if you are feeling angry, anxious, worried, anything like that, frustrated. So on Thursday, come to the session ready to learn how to relax. That's what we're going to be doing together. Now, tomorrow is our Engage Cozy Moments, where we are going to read a book together. I've got some great books. In fact, they're sat right over there in my corner, and I can't wait to read one of them to you tomorrow. So we'll get cozy. Come in your cozy pajamas, and we will read together tomorrow at 5 o'clock. And on Thursday, we will come back to our managing our emotions, as I have been talking about. All right, my lovely, lovely boys and girls. Can you think what I'm going to say to you now? What do I say each session? I love each and every one of you. I love you. Okay? You always know that God loves you, no matter what. There's nothing. Put your feet on the floor. Put your hands on your knees. Turn your hands around so your hands are like this. Close your eyes. Think about some of the things we've talked about this session. Think about the things that you're afraid of. Now think about the things that make you happy. Now let's thank God for all of these things together. Dear God, thank you for being with us throughout this study. We know that you are going to help us find ways to help us feel less anxious, and just to help us calm down after we are feeling anxious or angry or afraid. Knowing that you are there, God, always calms us because we know that you are a good God and you look after us always. Please help us with the things that we are afraid of and teach us how not to be afraid of them. God, thank you for everything you do in our lives. In your name we pray. Amen. Okay, my lovely, lovely cozy moment where we will read a book together. Okay, I love each and every one